So one of the more annoying trends that we've seen over the last, let's say, year and a half or so was this push for NFTs and crypto and stuff into mainstream games. Ubisoft, one of the biggest offenders, made a ton of headlines pretty recently when they tried to work this stuff into Ghost Recon. But there are other publishers and developers that have attempted it, but then pivoted at the last minute, seemingly. But now I'm starting to see some celebration online, even saying that NFTs are just out of mainstream games completely. But based on some of the stuff we've been hearing recently going into 2023, I think NFT technically is leaving the mainstream gaming market. But I also think that the message has shifted strategically for some of these companies, and we're going to go over that here today. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you like it and subscribe if you're new to the Spawn Wave Plus channel. Let me take you over here. This is an article that came across my feed and I saw it and I said, well, that's kind of right, but also kind of wrong necessarily, because there is early celebration, I think, going on here. It's not over just yet, where they say, good job, internet, you bullied NFTs out of mainstream games. And in this article, they talk about how there was a ton of pushback whenever NFTs were announced for different games. The biggest one they go over clearly is the idea of Ubisoft even attempting it in Ghost Recon. Like, they actually got to the point where they introduced this stuff, and the value has plummeted all the way around. But we've seen Discord even take a shot at it, or at least announce it and then backtrack on it. We've seen Square Enix be very, very upfront, by the way, that they will be making a push into blockchain technology, which is the leading trend now. So what these companies have figured out, and I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, Stalker, they even attempted at one point to describe this method of getting NFTs into their game, and that got immediate backlash for it. We watched Konami sell NFTs, and a few of them went for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're not worth anything now, of course, based on what we've seen with the market in crypto. But then we've also had some companies have to come out and clarify that there's a lot of research going on around NFTs, and they're not doing it yet. And this includes Blizzard, like Mike Ybarra, saying no one's doing NFTs after there was an internal survey. So it's certainly a topic that brings out a lot of emotions and frustrations online. And it makes sense to me why that happens, because if you're old enough to see what happened after horse armor got introduced and where we've gone since then, you can only imagine what can happen with NFTs and some of the economical, we'll say, frustrations that could be introduced into gaming and what it could shift and turn games into. I think at times people are looking for ways to justify the amount of time they spend playing games rather than just say, you know what, it's a leisure activity. I have fun doing it. That's my reward. Not necessarily, I have to grind out this crypto token so I can show that I made some sort of currency from the time spent playing. So what is the new strategy? Well, the new strategy is to talk about blockchain and metaverse. Metaverse seems to be the one that keeps coming up. In fact, last night came up with Sony. They talked about the metaverse there and how they are tying together the virtual and the real world through live events, yes, but also their interactive virtual environment that they are tying with an ecosystem altogether. And that even included their car that they're co-developing with Honda. So to hear it come up multiple times last night with Sony, as well as seeing Microsoft talk a lot about the metaverse, and in fact, they've even mentioned the metaverse alongside of the Activision Blizzard acquisition, specifically alongside of their entry point into metaverse being centered for entertainment, which, if you're trying to get this metaverse thing off the ground, I know there's a thought process of people working in the metaverse, but I think the way you get people there is to make them want to actually spend time there, and that would be through entertainment, like games or movies or even social interactions with other people in the digital space. I guess it would be the complete evolution of what we've had with social media, just by typing things out and text and all of this. We go to a position where you would actually visit a space that feels more and more real as we go along and blend the two worlds together, digital and physical. So you might be thinking, okay, well, they're talking about metaverse. It's not saying NFTs. Well, the idea of the metaverse existing means that NFTs would also exist. And I think what these companies have realized is that NFT is just a dirty phrase to use when explaining the future 10 or 15 years down the road. It causes a reaction, whereas metaverse is more of an eye-rolling reaction. Same with blockchain, right? Like, the idea of blockchain technology is compelling. It's a very interesting thing to see with decentralization, but we also have seen what it's turned into, because the initial human reaction is, okay, how do we make money from this? And I mean, it was rough after everything crashed and a lot of people lost a ton of money. And now you see some of the back end dealings that were going on, and it's just, it's a cluster. That's the best way you can describe it now. And I don't want that to find its way into games. I kind of like, me being older, kind of the way games are now. And they've even gotten to a position where I think, especially with microtransactions and season passes and live services, I think games have actually gotten, I don't want to say worse, but I guess more annoying. I don't know. Just there's a feeling there that you don't necessarily have over a decade ago, when you'd get a game and sure, maybe parts of that game were broken, but that's just kind of the way it was. But you knew you had the full game, and there was going to be 18 different currencies that you'd have to earn in order to get an experience curve that probably should have been there from the start, but maybe was pulled back so they can sell to you for $10. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, while it does seem that there's celebrating going on for NFTs being completely pushed out of mainstream games, I don't think that's the whole story here. And I believe something like Square Enix making a massive push towards this. They've said it multiple times. Someone counted, they mentioned blockchain 18 times in their New Year's letter. And that is a letter that was meant to be read by fans of the company and big franchises like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. And here they are talking about blockchain over and over and over again. And that's because they seem to really believe in the future prospect of that technology, and yes, also non-fungible tokens. So we'll see what happens, though, as we go along, because even the volatility and really the plummet in value around a lot of these NFTs have been referenced by Square and others as being a good opportunity. So I think you're going to hear more and more, yes, about the metaverse, but also I wouldn't be shocked if they just come up with a different way to reference NFTs. I think them looking at this as it being more of a marketability problem as opposed to a core issue that could essentially infect the way that mainstream games are built and run is the biggest issue now. So, hey, just letting everyone know, keep an eye out, stay vigilant, because no, I don't think NFTs are out of mainstream games. And in fact, I think things could potentially look a lot different even just 5 years from now if they continue on this path. But hey, let me know what you guys think about this down below. Maybe you're someone who likes the idea of NFTs finding their way into games. Maybe you like the idea of the digital and physical space becoming basically one at that point. Or maybe you're seeing a horse armor situation starting up here where things could really get off the rails 5 or even 10 years down the road. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.